Are you looking for a new anime to watch this winter? Do you want a badass series in which an assassin kills whoever he needs to for the right price? How about a protagonist who wields a sword like a master and combines it with his supernatural ability of telekinesis? Add to that his incredible seduction skill, which causes all the women, and indeed some men, to fall in love with him. Then I've got just the man for the mission. Scissor Seven.
How will I ever know if I don't try? I don't want this mission anymore. I wanna go.
Well, okay, that's actually a little bit off. But wait, I promise I can sell this one to you. Scissor Seven is a series about a telekinetic, amnesiac barber trying to become the best assassin in the world. While it may not be the most hyped up show on Netflix, it's already won international acclaim and gained a huge fan base in China, with each episode getting an average of 25 million views. But just give me a bit of your time and let me explain why you should watch the criminally underrated comedy Scissor Seven. Scissor Seven first released in China on April 25th, 2018 and on Netflix January 10th of 2020. Season 2 for Scissor Seven released on October 22nd, 2019 in China and on May 7, 2020 in Netflix. Now I didn't watch it when it immediately came out, however I did watch it a few months later, and I probably would have talked about it back then when I first watched it, but it was around the time I also watched The Great Pretender. And if it wasn't for its second season, it probably would still be in my top 10, but I do still have really fond memories of Scissor Seven. To begin with, this show is an action comedy slice of life blend, incorporating aspects of all three, but heavily on the comedy and action, and probably focusing the most on the comedy itself. But that isn't to say there's little to no action in the show, because for a spoof type like this one, it actually has some really good fights. Like, I was surprised at times at how good some of these were. Even the animation during these fights were a step up, which is really funny to say since this whole show is almost a spoof on the whole anime action genre as a whole, sort of like One Punch Man, but to an extreme of sorts. It even holds a whole system like One Punch Man, with assassin rankings, which is kind of a spin on the whole hero rankings and classes they have in One Punch Man. I think now would be a great time to talk about our main character and the story. The show is split into short, episodic adventures that sometimes bridge over into one another when a larger story is needed to be told, while still carrying the narrative of our main character Seven, who wants to climb up the assassin rankings all while having to keep up his front business as a barbershop/hair salon. Seven also has the ability to change into anything via a special egg which allows him to better complete his missions. But to be honest, he's a really bad assassin. And yet it's really funny to watch him struggle and try to complete his missions as an assassin. And it's honestly really engaging, and the show does have a good reason for it, but I won't say anything here since I thought it was really cool to discover during the show, and that mostly has a lot to do with his past, but again, I won't speak too much about that because like I said, it's fun to experience things for yourself. Now Seven isn't the only cool character, and to be honest, a vast amount of the characters in this show are really interesting and unique. Like, it was always so great to see a show have such a good cast, and it was always funny to see someone earlier in the show come back later in some way. Now, the character designs themselves are super unique and different. Just like the tone of the show, the characters themselves have this wacky flair that is just so unique to Scissor Seven. Also, the chickens in this show are just so dope. Some of them were cute, funny, and really badass. I don't know why the show was so obsessed with chickens, but hey, I'm not complaining because I was loving it. Also, my little sister found them quite funny, so another win for the funny blue chickens. Also, Daibo's the GOAT. Alright, now of course, this is a Chinese anime, so it is going to be a little different than some of your more traditional Japanese anime, but trust me, it doesn't take away from the experience at all. If anything, it almost elevates it since it is so different and that uniqueness can be heavily seen in the comedy. It's a really wacky and off-the-wall type of humor, and trust me, while it may be really odd, if it's your style of comedy, you will love it. And I will admit that this type of comedy may not be for everyone, however, if you click with it like me, it will be such an amazing ride. Like, it can be really wacky and insane at points that it reminded me of other shows, like Space Dandy for example. Now maybe I'm stretching it a bit, but that's what it felt like to me. But even then, this show has a really unique sense of humor. Even looking back at clips of the show, I still laugh. Like, some of these jokes are just so out there that it almost takes you by surprise. And even some of the little things in the show got a laugh out of me. Like, I don't know what it is, but truly the humor in this show is a gem. Now, I don't think it would be anywhere near what it is or even functional without it. Not only is the humor great, but like I said before, some of the fights are amazing as well. They looked really good at times and had this blend of badass and funny. It truly is a unique combination that I can only really say that this show pulls off well. Now of course, this is also one of the shows that actually has a good English dub. I myself did watch this show in both English sub and dub, and out of the two languages available, while I personally prefer the Chinese dub more, the English dub took me by surprise far more than any English dub in my opinion. Plus, I feel like it adds quite a bit to some of the jokes and delivery, but hey, you do you. Now I also believe this show is actually pretty good for beginners to anime. Now I know I've talked about how wacky and odd the show can be, but if you're into the humor, I think you could really get into it. And honestly, it's not too far off from comedies such as Family Guy, Futurama, and The Simpsons in some way. Now sure, some of those shows have humor aimed more at adult audiences, but some of the jokes that are aimed more at teens are pretty similar to the jokes present in Scissor Seven. It has a very much teenager sense of humor, and maybe that's why I clicked with it so much. But if you're coming in expecting some masterpiece that will have an in-depth commentary on real-world issues, then you may be a little disappointed. However, if you're looking for a fun time that will have you watching and laughing along for a few minutes, then this show is for you. It's also pretty short as well. So far it has a total of 3 seasons with 10 episodes each, and 4 pretty fun OVAs for season 1 that tie into the story quite well. While the episode count may not be the shortest, the episodes are really short themselves. The shortest episode is a mere 11 minutes and the longest episode is only 20. For the most part they stay around the 15-minute mark, so it was honestly such a breeze to get through. Especially with all that was going on in the show, it will pass you by in no time. Now, let's talk about the latest season for Scissor 7. Season 3 released on January 17th in China and October 3rd on Netflix, both in 2021. I watched it weekly when new episodes would drop before, and let me be honest, I was waiting for this show. I was so glad it came back because I was watching some other movies and shows, but haven't watched any anime since I finished season 2. But Scissor 7 really was a fun time like always. The episodes aren't super long, they are really watchable and are easy to get through. I mean, if you wanted to, I think you could watch the entire show in a single night, which is good because at least with me, and I know a lot of others as well, but recently time has been an issue or lack thereof. Church has been thriving and busy, senior year is coming to an end soon, and college applications and form deadlines are fast approaching. So it's really an important year for me and many others my age, so we don't really have that much time to spare. Heck, I've even had to readjust my schedule for when I work on projects for videos because of how tight my schedule has become. So at least with this show, I can really appreciate its shorter lengths, although I won't lie, I wish there was more because at the end of season 3, they leave us again at another cliffhanger. This one even being more dire than the previous season, and it really has me wanting more to begin with. The fights this season are really good, like actually insane. I know the show had a good amount of fights before, but I promise you this season at least doubles the amount of fights, and they are really good fights as well. They're choreographed very nicely, everything flows really well, and it's super dynamic. There are so many different powers at use here that it never really gets boring. One of my biggest pet peeves with some fights, as seen in movies and shows, is that sometimes it just comes down to 2 basically identical people duking it out with each other with the same powers and different colors. But here, every person really has a unique skill and moveset that it becomes super fun and refreshing to watch. And the animation this season, especially during the fights, is a step up. I know it had its points of looking really good previously, but that was only at select moments in the story, mainly the fights, but since the fights are such more prevalent this season, you get to see a lot more of that good animation. Now, if the fights were more prevalent this season, I can say that the humor took a little bit of a backseat. Was it there? Yes, however it doesn't feel like it was as much of the focus as it was previously. This season as a whole for the most part has a more mature theme, and it's no surprise, especially considering where we left 7 in his journey, especially all the events in Xuanwu, Chicken Island, and even on that little superhero one. It's obviously no wonder we finally get to explore 7's past and we get to see him confront it, so of course it's going to carry a darker tone. But that tone is only in certain segments, and while it does have an overall presence in the show, a good portion of the season is dedicated to those fun and goofy stories you have grown to love, and I really had an enjoyable time. Here we got to see old characters again and meet new ones as well, and we even got to see brand new places. Scissor Seven's journey along all these islands really started to open up the world for me, way more than I previously thought. Not only did we have the 2 big nations in Chicken Island, but a bunch more now as well, all with their own specific traits and gimmicks in a sense. Plus, it got me thinking about the national relations between all these places. Like, is there a UN of sorts with all the islands participating? Are there like politicians from each place? If so, I think that'd be pretty funny, but I digress. And each location really brought up a cool feel, and even some tied into the background and story of certain characters. Plus, they offered the opportunity for a lot of funny new jokes. And well, when the jokes hit, they really hit. So at least it hasn't lost that aspect. Overall, I really like this season, and it definitely has me looking forward to what's next, because how could they just leave us on a cliffhanger like that? And to everyone who told me this season was really good, you were absolutely correct. It was so good that it actually bumps up the entire score for the show as a whole, because I was actually contemplating on giving it a higher score before, but eventually decided against it, but this season has convinced me so much. I'm actually still waiting for the upcoming movie, which was teased in the end credits of the last episode in Season 3. He Xiaofeng, the director of Scissor 7, stated in an interview that it's scheduled to release sometime this year, and it's actually canon, taking place right after Season 3's ending, and Season 4 is to follow after that in the following year, continuing the plot of the movie's ending. I'll link my tweet down in the description below with the details regarding the interview containing He Xiaofeng's 20-year plan for the entire series. I'm really looking forward to it because this was a show that captured my heart and attention so well to the point where I just couldn't really look away and kept clicking on to the next episode. So please, go give this show a shot because it really needs more attention for just how good and unique it is. My ratings for Scissor 7 is an 8 out of 10 for Season 1, Season 2 gets a 9 out of 10, and Season 3 bumps it up to a 9.5 out of 10, concluding with an overall score of 9 out of 10 for the entire series so far for me personally. I truly enjoyed this show, and I'm sure that you will too. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, so please consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video, because it would mean a lot to me. Also, if you would like to leave any comments, please leave them down below, and trust me, I read them all. Also, look at this graph. Okay, but as always, stay awesome, stay safe, and thanks for watching.